empowering futures.
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa. Lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Mwaka moja baada ya kutoka hospitalini, nilihudhuria mafunzo ya jinsi ya kuendesha boda kwa usalama. Siku hizi niko makini zaidi barabarani. Wateja wangu wanaenjoy. Kumbuka, usalama kwanza.
Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Good evening, this is Sunday Express on KBC Channel 1. We have so much in store for you this Sunday evening, including quite highlighting the plight of children who are behind bars but still innocent, given that under the law that either children can get separated with their mothers once they're incarcerated, or they can actually join their mothers who are serving a prison sentence until they're 4. Leila Sodiq tonight is going to be highlighting the plight of these innocents who are behind bars, so do keep it right here. But before we get to that particular heart-wrenching piece, let's have a look at the highlights.
Sababu yetu ya kusambaza maendeleo kila sehemu ya Kenya ni kwa sababu tunatafuta umoja.
President William Ruto assures of equitable share of development projects across the country.
Mimi nimekuwa nikiongea mambo ya amani, sio katika mlima Kenya peke yake, lakini katika Kenya kwa jumla.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua states his commitment to peace and unity of purpose in all counties.
Kaa jela na mtoto si rahisi. Mtoto mdogo kwanza si rahisi kabisa.
Innocent but behind bars. The plight of children whose mothers are in jail. And Kenya returns to the Elite World Rugby 7 series.
You're watching Sunday Express. I'm Regina. Manyara, and my colleague in sign language is none other than Byron Abuli. President William Ruto has stated that all regions in the country will enjoy equal share of the national cake in the government's development agenda. The president, while gracing an interdenominational church service in Kimilili, marked the end of his 4-day tour of Bungoma County, has also called for national unity, saying attempts to balkanize the country along ethnic lines is retrogressive.
President William Ruto on Sunday concluded his 4-day visit in Bungoma County in Western Kenya region, gracing an interdenominational church service in Kimilili. The president assuring the country that no region will be favored in sharing of national resources.
Tuko na kasi ya barabara,
tuko na kazi ya maji, tuko na kazi ya stima, tuko na program ya housing.
Calls for national unity also dominated the service as the president urged leaders to shun divisive politics and ethnic balkanization of the country.
Let us focus our energy, let us focus our attention in the transformation of Kenya, not in the division of our country.
He, however, defended lawmakers criticized for shuttling outside their constituencies, saying it was the only way to understand people's needs for legislative purposes.
I want to encourage you, as members of parliament, to represent your constituencies effectively, but to also move around Kenya so that you understand and discharge your responsibilities better of oversight and of legislation as you do it for the people of Kenya equally.
Leaders accompanying the president, including Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, Western Kenya governors and lawmakers joined the unity call, saying the country must move away from elections-related political divisions.
Hatutaki tulete ukabila kwa Kenya, na bali Mheshimiwa Rais ndio anasimamia taifa nzima, Afrika nzima kwa mambo ya amani.
Tupendane, tuheshimiane, tuachane na mambo ya kuzungumuza hii kabila yangu, hao watu yangu. Kila mtu ni mtu wetu.
We are one indivisible united country under God, with one map, one flag, one national anthem.
Mambo ya regionalism tuachane nayo. Kama Bungoma inaendelea, Kakamega tunajua itaendelea, Busia itaendelea, na Kenya mzima itaendelea kwenda mbele.
The president also announced his trip to South Korea to attend South Korea Africa Summit this evening. Give us Manyara, Sunday Express.
Still on matters politics, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says he will continue preaching peace and unity of purpose across all counties to achieve development. Speaking in Timao, Meru County, the Deputy President described himself as a peacemaker, explaining that his call for unity beginning with his home region, Mount Kenya, is for the greater good of the nation and its development.
Speaking in Buri constituency in Meru County, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua defended his call for national forgiveness following a highly divisive 2022 general election, saying such healing was the way to go for the country to progress.
We have had our own shares of disunity in this region ambayo imetuhangaisha kiasi. Na mimi nikiwa kiongozi ninaona haya. Hapa katika kaunti yetu ya Meru hatujakuwa na amani kwa muda, na hiyo inatatiza maendeleo.
Addressing a congregation at Our Lady of Visitation Catholic Church in Timau, the Deputy President was accompanied by his spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, and Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza, among other leaders, explained that he came into office a bitter man, given the humiliation and persecution he was subjected to by the previous regime. However, the Deputy President explained that he has gradually healed following consistent prayers, and he is ready to forgive those who persecuted him.
I want to appeal to all leaders to embrace forgiveness. It's there in the Bible. I, Rigathi Gachagua, was badly wounded before the election. I was humiliated. I was persecuted. I came into office a very bitter person. But through prayer, and I want to thank my wife, she prayed for me, and within 1 year, all the bitterness had gone. I was a healed person.
The DP's spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, asked Christians to support the ongoing nationwide crackdown on fight against illicit brews and drug abuse so that Kenya can have a sober population.
Hii pombe na miadarati imetufanya madhara makubwa sana, na kwa hivyo ni lazima tuungane, tusimame kama kina mama na wazazi, tuende tuchukue watoto wetu, tuwatoe hiyo madawa kwa kichwa na tuwapende, ndio waweze kurudi nyumbani na waweze kujenga taifa letu.
Visho Kiwashira, Sunday Express.
The National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairperson Ndindi Nyoro has hinted at an increment of the 2024-2025 budget to 4 trillion shillings from the initial estimate of 3.14 trillion. Speaking in Manyara town, Samburu County, Nyoro said an ongoing consultation might also see a budget increment in the devolved units. He also assured the striking junior secondary school teachers that the government has also set aside 15 billion for their permanent and pensionable employment, and called on the Teacher Service Commission to expedite their employment once it receives the budgetary allocation.
Na katika hayo mambo ya bajeti tumeongeza pesa ya elimu, na hiyo pesa ya elimu itakuwa kama 680 billion shillings. Ile pesa itaenda kwa elimu ya watoto wa Kenya. And I want to be very categorical. Pesa ya elimu, tumetoa pesa ya kuajiri walimu wa JSS on permanent and pensionable terms.
Tunajua mashida zile ziko kwa Kenya hii. Walimu wa JSS wanataka kuajiriwa. Mumewaona kwa barabara. Hatuna pesa ingine ya kuwapatia isipokuwa ile tutalipia kodi. Walimu hao watoke kwa barabara, waajiriwe kwa sababu ni watoto wetu tulisomesha na ni sisi tutawalipa.
To politics, a Kapsaret member of National Assembly, Oscar Sudi, has criticized politicians preaching tribalism, terming them as enemies of unity and solidarity among Kenyans. In Machakos County, Senator Agnes Kavindu has called on President William Ruto to reduce the price of some products he aims to tax in the new finance bill. Details on this and more stories in our political news roundup.
Speaking during a fundraising at Friends Church in Kakamega, Kapsaret legislator Oscar Sudi also urged Kenyans to be cautious when electing leaders and not be misled by tribal interest.
Wametuonesha mfano mzuri. Na nataka niwaambie leo, ukiona hata senta yenu haina Mkikuyu, ujue kuna shida. Kwa sababu hao Wakikuyu ni watu wa maajabu, na hiyo ndio mfano mzuri ndio tuweke katika taifa la Kenya. Ukienda Lodwar utawapata. Ukienda Mombasa utawapata. Ukikuja Eldoret utawapata. Ukikuja hapa Kakamega utawapata. Si ni kweli jamani? Na ndio tunataka tushikane. Hii maneno ya kusema sisi ni watu wa Mount Kenya, sisi watu na mlima, hiyo maneno tuache.
Sentiments separately echoed by Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Ruku, who challenged Mount Kenya leaders to unite and shun politics of division.
Don't entertain anybody who is going to bring division, who is going to bring a discord between yourself and the Deputy President and other leaders from Mount Kenya. We want to be one people who cannot be divided.
His Othaya counterpart Wambugwa Inaina also accused a section of politicians from Mount Kenya region of being power hungry at the expense of the unity of the region.
Na wakati president wetu aliona yule mtu ataweza kufanya kazi na yeye ni Rigathi Gachagua, aliwacha watu wengi sana huko nje. Na sababu aliona ndio kiongozi, akasema ni huyu nitafanya kazi na yeye ndio watengeneze nchi yetu ya Kenya.
In Machakos, the county senator Agnes Kavindu has urged President William Ruto to instead reduce the price of some products targeted for price increments under the finance bill.
Kutaenda kuwa pia na taxation hata ya land. Sasa hizi kodi zikienda hivyo, kuku, umbwa, nini zote, tutaenda wapi? Tutakimbilia wapi? Sisi wa Kenya tumechoka, tunataka kodi iteremshwe. Asanteni.
Still in Machakos, the Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi has urged politicians across the political aisle to tone down on abuses and redirect their energies to serving the electorate.
Politics should be about who has a better policy to transform a country, to transform a county, to transform a constituency, to transform a ward. Not about who abuses the other, the loudest or the unthinkable terms. So I urge our people, because I've seen so many of us deviating from the core call for leadership.
Kasichana Marsha, Sunday Express.
Governors who have served full term may be barred for 5 years from vying for the Senate position in the next immediate election if a bill to amend the Constitution sails through. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023 seeks to amend Articles 99 Section 2 and 193 Section 2 of the Constitution and Section 24(2) and 25(2) of the Elections Act to bar the governor who has served a full term from eligibility as a senatorial candidate or member of county assembly. The bill, currently in its second reading stage at the Senate, has received varied opinions from senators, with its opponents arguing that it might infringe on fundamental political freedoms and rights.
Senators on Thursday began debate on the bill, with the sponsor-nominated Senator Raphael Chimera saying if enacted, it will allow the House perform its oversight role, especially holding to account former county bosses on any audit or integrity queries during their tenure.
I shudder to imagine that somebody who served as a full-term governor appears before a committee he sits as a member, a committee he chairs perhaps, and there are questions as to the misdirection, misapplication of finances under his watch, and then you expect there will be no conflict of interest from that particular individual, Mr. Speaker.
The bill, however, elicited varied opinions, with some asserting the supremacy of integrity, while others terming it a violation of political freedoms and rights.
The proposed limitation that seeks to bar governors from running for Senate and our county assembly, Mr. Speaker, is reasonable and justifiable, as it is limited to the offices which directly exercise oversight of our county governments.
There's no political hygiene. Somebody climbing to the highest seat in a county, then starting to scramble back to compete with people who are now building their careers.
If we are saying if a Governor X runs for Senate and EACC are investigating him, then we come to Parliament and again subject him to the legal hurdle of not being elected, Mr. Speaker, and there is presumption of innocence. We are subjecting that individual or those individuals to principle of double jeopardy.
The spirit of this bill has got nothing to do with limiting anyone's rights. The spirit of this bill has got everything to do with oversight and ensuring that those who intend to take up these offices as governors particularly understand that no, you're not going to be a governor and then come and sit in the Senate to cover up the corrupt dealings that your administration was involved in, Mr. Speaker.
The worst that could have happened is if the mover of the motion had said they be barred completely. He's only saying they could for 5 years to allow any mess that might have taken place in their office to be sorted out.
Since the inception of the Constitution, a number of former governors have, after completing their terms, found their way to the Senate or County Assembly in the subsequent elections. The current Bungoma Governor, Ken Lusaka, served as Senate Speaker after serving one term as Governor. Uasin Gishu Senator Jackson Mandago and his Mandera counterpart Ali Roba moved to Senate immediately after serving full terms as governors. The current Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, is immediate former Kilifi Governor.
Are you telling me, Mr. Speaker, that while Speaker Lusaka was seated where you are, with those immense powers, there were no questions of oversight, begging from his tenure in Bungoma? Are you telling me there are no such questions emanating from the county of Mandera, county of Uasin Gishu, and the county of Kilifi?
If we were to resource our committees, such that by the time an election of 2027 is done, the Public Accounts Committee has considered the audit report of 26-27. Then the governor who is serving second term, like Bungoma governor, can run for Senate and come here, Mr. Speaker. That is the point that we are trying to say, that it is our own making. We are shooting our own foot, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the bill is set to continue when Senate resumes from a 3-week recess. Kamcheminza for the Sunday Express.
Sunday Express takes its first breather, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about a myriad of issues, including the plight of children who are incarcerated, of incarcerated mothers, the challenges that they go through, and the experiences they're in. So do keep it right here.
Asanteni sana kwa kuwezesha Loto Moto kuwafikia wengi wasiojiweza kupitia *570#. Hapa umewafuta wengi machozi, umewaelimisha, umewapa makao, umewapa lishe na umewapa matibabu kwa namna tofauti. Asanteni.
Asanteni. Asanteni sana.
Na kwako wewe mchezaji wa Loto Moto, unajipa fursa ya kujishindia Probox nayo. Na kama Probox haikufai na umejishindia, tunakupa taslim 750,000 Kenyan shillings na mshindi na mtangaza 30th of June. Na mwezi wa July 28th na mtangaza mshindi wa Demio nayo. Na kama utaki na umeshinda, wacha gari, chukua chapa 750,000 Kenyan shillings kwenye *570#. Wewe si mshindi tu, wewe ni tegemeo kubwa. Tusaidie na tushinde!
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa. Lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Mwaka moja baada ya kutoka hospitalini, nilihudhuria mafunzo ya jinsi ya kuendesha boda kwa usalama. Siku hizi niko makini zaidi barabarani. Wateja wangu wanaenjoy. Kumbuka, usalama kwanza.
Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Una malimbikizi ya ushuru? Mamlaka ya utozaji ushuru nchini KRA inakupa msamaha wa adhabu na riba ya ushuru kufikia tarehe 31 Disemba 2022 kupitia Tax Amnesty Program. Ili kujua jinsi ya kupata msamaha, jiunge nasi kwenye maonyesho ya barabarani kote nchini ukiletewa na KRA kwa ushirikiano na KBC. Pia tutakuelekeza jinsi ya kujaza fomu za ushuru na kujisajili kwa e-Teams, mfumo mpya unaokusaidia kutoa risiti za kidijitali kwa njia rahisi. Ijumaa tarehe 7 Juni tutakuwa katika kaunti ya Mombasa, maeneo ya Sauti House, Moi Avenue, Cannon Tower, CMC, Ganjoni, Likoni na viunga vyao. Jumamosi tarehe 8 Juni tutazuru kaunti ya Kilifi, maeneo ya Mtwapa, Kilifi Market, Gede, Matsangoni, Malindi Town, Malindi Stadium na viunga vyao. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
Welcome back. This is Sunday Express. Now, Parliament has been urged to create a legal framework to facilitate recognition and rewarding of media legends in the country. Music and Copyrights Association of Kenya Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ezekiel Mutua said besides athletes, Kenyan veteran broadcasters also deserve recognition. He was speaking during the celebrations to mark the 84th birthday of veteran KBC broadcaster Leonard Mambo Mbotela in Nairobi, organized by Association of Professional Broadcasters.
Begin by honoring those who are before us, those who sacrificed and through their talents and gifts and professionalism made this country the beautiful country it is. We are appealing that begins with Leonard Mambo Mbotela.
Lolote ufanyalo, uwe nani. Be humble in life. Yes. Be humble in life. Live with humility. Na Mungu atakubariki. Happy birthday.
Well, on a lighter note, Je Hu Ni Ungwana. Well, that's the face and the voice behind that particular series that ran on TV, KBC, as well as radio. Now, inside women's prisons in the country are children who, despite being innocent, find themselves behind bars at a tender age. They cannot be separated from their mothers, who are themselves convicts. For those who came with their mothers or were even born there, the prison, with all its hardships, has been their home. Leila Siddiq visited 2 women prisons and contrasts how different facilities in these facilities impact on the children's well-being in isolation from the outside world.
Some 20 minutes drive from Nairobi stands Langata Women's Prison, one of the iconic correctional centers for women caught on the wrong side of the law. But interestingly, among its 700 inmates are these children within the heavily guarded perimeter of this prison. Of course, they are here not by choice, but the oddity of their mothers being convicts. There are 40 of them here. The 22-year-old Phyllis Munyiva is serving a 1-year sentence for theft. Together with her in isolation is a 1-month-old baby boy with whom she was convicted when he was barely a week old.
Nilikuwa na stress. Kaa jela na mtoto si rahisi. Mtoto mdogo kwanza si rahisi kabisa.
Here at Langata Women Prison, however, there is a maternity wing for convicted mothers where the prison provides necessary amenities for the young ones and what you would call some preferential treatment for their mothers.
Kama pale mali tumewekwa ni pasafi, pana joto, pako sawa.
This is deemed necessary in consideration of the best interests of the child.
Hata kama mama ni mfungwa, mtoto si mfungwa. Maisha yake yanatakiwa yakae aje. Ni kuangalia tu mtoto na yale mazingira ambayo yatamwezesha kukua katika ile hali. Hatutasema tulichangia katika upungufu wowote ule juu ya maisha ya huyu mtoto.
In this special wing is a daycare facility where children paint, play, sing, and even access education. For the slightly older ones, there is a nursery where they get lessons.
We take children from the inmates, from the staff, and also from the environment.
This secures the children's right to education.
And for this child has to start from playgroup because they've never been to school. And when this child came here, the issue of interaction was not in her because I think she was secluded wherever she used to be. So she used to be a loner. So we needed to place her with the other children together so that they can interact with her. I'll make sure whatever syllabus is being taken in every other place, that child has already known to go through that.
The school's principal says they have managed to erode the stigma that affected children whose mothers were in prison when they school with other children whose parents are not convicts.
When they came to prison, that is the only home she knows. So we need to take her outside so that she can get to know there's a bouncing castle, there's a swing, there's a slide, the other children, apart from these other children she normally sees.
Kuna mambo mtoto huwa anatakiwa ayaigi, ayajui, na yakuwe ni kama maisha yake sasa.
But even in this semblance of normalcy, the children still miss a father figure in their lives. However, not all women prisons enjoy privileges such as these ones at Langata Women's Prison. Thika Main Prison serves both male and female inmates.
Just in this one women prison, there are 150 inmates and 10 children here that live with their mothers. According to the law, children 4 years and below can be taken away from their mothers, even if their mothers are incarcerated.
Unlike Langata Women's Prison, Mothers here are cramped in this prison-type cell with hardly any modification to cater for the young ones.
Naweza sema ni hiyo kama ya congestion. The environment pia is not that conducive, sababu they might take up some behaviors from the mothers.
Winnie Okida, who is serving a 2-year sentence apparently for neglecting her children, says her 1-week-old kid would miss the bond of growing up with his other siblings.
They knew I was expectant, but they've not met him. So I'm feeling like the bond, even when I come out of here, the child will be too old, so there will be no bonding still yet.
Unlike at Langata, children here don't get formal education.
We engaged the Ministry of Education recently, and we requested that they register our daycare to be an ECD center.
In such a situation, disease outbreak is a major threat.
Mtoto wangu alikuwa anakohoa, ile kukohoa. But venye nilipimwa nikaambiwa ako na TB. But immediately alijulikana ako na TB. Alipelekwa hospitali na tukapata matibabu.
Iwapo kuna changamoto ya ugonjwa kama itaibuka, ugonjwa huu wa kusambaa, tunahakikisha kwamba wamewekwa kwenye ward tofauti. Na pia tuko na madaktari ambao wako kila saa wanachunguza watoto, wanaangalia afya yao na wanaomonitor.
For these young ones, prison life affects them psychologically.
Kwa akili yake, hata saa hii ukimwambia unaenda wapi, toka twende hesabu, anajua kuna hesabu na kuna kukaba.
Yale mtoto anayaona, ubongo wapiga picha, waweka katika memory. Kumbukumbu tu aweka. Siku moja hamtaelewa akiyatenda yale aliyaona. Maanake the more anaendelea kukua hata ubongo na kiakili, the more ataathirika akiyajua.
There is also need to prepare these children as they transit to the outside world.
Ni vizuri kwanza ujue ni nini anajua. Hapa ako gerezani na pale nje. Tofauti anaona kama itakuwa nini. Tunafanya hiyo separation counseling. Manake si atakuwa separated na mama yake. Pale nje ni nani huyu ambaye atakaa na yeye, na hatakiwi kuwa ni stranger. Si mtu ambaye ajui, ndio akitoka pale nje huyu atasimama na yeye.
Given that the interests of the child are paramount, prisons need to standardize the amenities for the children who accompany their convicted mothers to whichever the prison, and also counsel them prior to their exit to the outside world. For KBC Channel 1, my name is Leila Swadik.
Well, that particular piece by Leila Swadik there is quite unnerving, so to speak, when you look at the ramifications, especially on the child there. And then the question is, isn't that innocence then that is serving time, though it's been done for their sake there? It must have long-lasting, lifelong scars going forward. We'll be keeping tabs of that, and in case you have missed it, you can catch it on our live stream at KBC Channel 1, and also further details on our website. Now, a 62-year-old man is seeking assistance to raise 4 million shillings to undergo kidney transplant in India. Samson Kavoy says his health woes started in 1991 when he was diagnosed with diabetes and high blood pressure, and the condition has since deteriorated to the point where only a new kidney can enable him lead a normal life.
For 3 decades, life has been a struggle for Samson Kavoy. His kidneys are losing the fight. He has undergone numerous in-centered hemodialysis sessions until doctors have advised him not to continue with the treatment. He needs a new kidney.
Imekuwa ni shida kubwa kwa sababu mimi ndio nimekuwa ni kama breadwinner ya familia yangu.
Kavoy started dialysis in the year 2022 with 3 sessions a week, each lasting 4 hours at a cost of 9,600 shillings.
Na hiyo mara 3 kwa wiki, ukienda ukiwekwa kwa mashini, unakaa kwa mashini masaa 4 ukioshwa hiyo damu. Paka masaa 4 yaishe, ndio utolewe kwa mashine.
Kavoy says his daughter has agreed to donate a kidney, but some 4 million shillings are needed to make the medical dream a reality. John Osiemo says he has known Kavoy for decades, and in those years, his health has been deteriorating day by day. Well-wishers can send their financial donations to 0716 055 488 or via paybill number 400 200 and account number 62689.
In case you missed where you'd be sending your donations for Samson Kavoy, there is paybill number 400 200 and the account is 62689. 400 200 paybill 62689. That's the account number. Or better yet, you can send it directly to the number 0716 055 488. 0716 055 488. Now to the counties is that the Kikuyu Council of Elders is calling on the political class to end the doublespeak and fight for the interests of the electorate. Speaking in Dumberi, Kiambu County, the elders said politicians, especially elected leaders, have failed to prevent the implementation of unfriendly policies. Details of this and other stories in our county's news roundup.
The Kikuyu Council of Elders National Chairman Wachira Kiago says the Finance Bill 2024 must be cured of oppressive proposals, which he argues may disenfranchise the public. He said that elected leaders must work in the best interest of the electorate.
Tunasema hakuna jamii hata moja inatakana inyang'anywe kiwango yao ya pesa ile wanapewa. Lakini yetu kama Wakikuyu iletwe na yetu inatosha. Hebu wakae na yao. Lakini yetu kwa sababu tunajua haijafanywa haki, tunataka tufanyiwe haki.
Meanwhile, a new board of directors has taken over the management of the controversial Midlands Limited in Nyandarua County after 10 years of closure due to a legal battle over the 25 acres parcel of land it sits on.
Wakati kulikuwa na mvua, wamama wengi wako wanapata kazi, lakini kama hiki kiwanda kilikuwa kinaendelea, wamama wangekuwa nakosa kazi.
And more than 150 residents from Meru have benefited from free eye, diabetes and sugar level clinic courtesy of Lions Club of Kenya.
Na 5 principles tunakuwa nazo tukiwa Lions, tunakuwa na vision, tunakuwa na environment kupanda miti, childhood cancer, diabetes.
Elsewhere, the county government of Kajiado has declared Ipomia weed a disaster due to its devastating effects on pasture. The leaders said the weed is threatening livestock keeping, which is the main economic activity of the county.
As a county that is heavily dependent on pastoralism, we are very, very concerned that the continued expansion of Ipomia undermines our effort in our pastoralism endeavor.
Christine Matunda for Sunday Express.
The Public Service Superannuation Scheme, PSSS, established under the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act in 2012, is a defined contributory scheme designed to cater to you, the dedicated civil servants, teachers and disciplined services personnel. Since its inception on January 1st, 2021, the PSSS has made remarkable progress in terms of operational efficiency and governance structures, ensuring that your retirement benefits are managed responsibly and securely. We are thrilled to announce that the second annual general meeting will be held on 7th June 2024. The chief guest will be the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Mr. Felix Koskei. Mark your calendars and join us for the second PSSS AGM on Friday, 7th June 2024 from 8 a.m. live on KBC TV, and be a part of this historic event as we present the financial statements to our valued scheme members. This annual general meeting is an excellent opportunity for you to learn more about the performance and growth of your pension fund. You'll gain valuable insights into how your contributions are being managed and invested for your future. We encourage you to attend the AGM virtually and actively participate in the discussions, ask questions and share your thoughts. Your voice matters, and this is your chance to shape the future of the Public Service Superannuation Scheme. For more details and to confirm your attendance, please visit our website at www.psss.go.ke. PSSS, empowering futures.
Watch the Mozartbet Cup as teams from both the top tier and low tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final and the final. Mozartbet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Sports News is brought to you by Mozartbet.
Glad that you are watching Sunday Express. Time to get sporty with me, Bernardo Kumu. And we begin with the great news of where Kenya Sevens rugby team Shujaa returned to the World Series following a 33-15 victory over Germany in a tense playoff match in Madrid. Now Germany went over the line first before captain Vincent Onyala leveled, then Tony Omondi converted to put them 7-5 ahead. Ojwang scored a try for Kenya, but the conversion was unsuccessful for a 12-10 score in favor of Kevin Wambua's men at halftime. Now, John Okoth then extended the lead with a try converted by Omondi for a 19-10, but Germany reduced the deficit to 19-15 to set up a tense finish. However, Kenya added further tries to secure a 33-15 finish to return to the World Series in style. The tie was a repeat of their quarter-final encounter during the Challenger Series in Munich, where hosts Germany beat Kenya 19-17. Congratulations to Kenya Sevens for bouncing back to the World Sevens Series next season. To soccer now, where the national soccer team Harambee Stars left the country today ahead of their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Burundi and Ivory Coast in Malawi. Kenya will play Burundi on June 7th and then Africa champions Ivory Coast 4 days later at the Bingu Mutharika National Stadium in Lilongwe, Malawi.
Harambee Stars tactician Engin Firat will highly rely on foreign-based players led by Captain Michael Olunga, Daniel Anyembe, Richard Odada and Collins Chichenje, among others. Stars currently sit third in Group F of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, having picked up 3 points from the opening 2 matches against Gabon and Seychelles. Only the top team in Group F, which has Ivory Coast, Gabon, Burundi, Gambia, Seychelles and Kenya, will qualify for the 48-team World Cup, which will be played across 16 cities in Canada, Mexico and the United States.
And former champions Kenya Prisons women's volleyball team qualified for the finals of the Kenya Volleyball Federation League playoffs after a hard-fought 3-1 victory over Africa bronze medalist Kenya Pipeline in a game 3 of their best-of-3 semi-final series at Kasarani Indo. Now defending champions Prisons. On the other side, the Kenya men's volleyball team will face GSU in the final after defeating KPA by 3-1 in game 3 of their men's semi-final.
Serving, Pamela Adhiambo.
Kenya Prisons booked their spot in the final with a thrilling victory over Kenya Pipeline in a set scores of 25-16, 25-20, 18-25 and 25-21.
By Masai Sai, that qualifies them automatically for the finals.
Kenya Pipeline had defeated Kenya Prisons 3-1, 25-11, 25-17, 16-25 and 28-26 in their second semi-final match to set up a thrilling tie-breaker match to determine the finalist. Kenya Prisons' victory set up an exciting final showdown with defending champions KCB, who are aiming for their second consecutive title in the Women's League.
Everyone has expectations.
And to an off-road event where driver Graham McKittrick of Team 5 was crowned the overall winner of the 35th edition of the Rhino Charge after an exceptional drive through the rough terrains of Torosei in Kajiado County. Now 52 cars took part in this year's Rhino Charge.
Graham McTrick was unstoppable, easily guiding Team 5 to victory in the 2024 Rhino Charge. Shane Avi of Team Bondo Fundi came in second, while Jeremy Holley of Team Huzi settled for that position. Eddie Van Beek of car number 1 and Peter Francob of Roving Rocks completed the top 5 positions. The Rhino Charge is an initiative dedicated towards environmental conservation, restoration and protection of endangered ecosystems under the Rhino Act Kenya Charitable Trust. The event is held in different locations each year to avoid cumulative environmental impacts and spread benefits to host communities. In its 35-year history, Kajiado has hosted 7 editions of the competition. Other counties that have hosted the event include Samburu, Narok, Baringo, Isiolo, Marsabit and Laikipia.
This is the first charge that we have gone deep in Tilia. It's interesting. The terrain is a tough terrain, and the chargers are feeling the challenge.
Elsewhere, Denson Cheserem beat a field of 30 players to win the inaugural Madaraka Day Pool tournament held at the outskirts of Narok town. Lairam Moroi took the second position, while Tunkres Joseph settled for that position. According to the organizers, the tournament was used to promote the sport, tap upcoming talent, and help the youth stay away from crime and drug abuse.
It is actually a game ambayo inakueleza you can be able to relax, unatoa stress baada ya kazi.
Kama miaka 2 ama 5 tutakuwa timu kubwa na tutaweza kudevelop na tutaweza kushukua watu wengi katika Narok, tutaenda hata East Africa, wote tutawalete pamoja.
The winners walked away with cash prizes.
And to the WRC rally, where Oitanak scooped Rally Italia Sardinia victory in a superb finish to claim a stunning World Rally Championship triumph, defeating 8-time world champion Sebastian Ogier by 0.2 seconds after he suffered a punch on the last stage. Now, Hyundai's main contender for victory in Sardinia had been pushing hard on Sunday, but with the focus on beating his teammate Thierry Neuville to maximum Sunday points rather than to chase down Ogier for victory. Danny Sodo wrapped up his 56th career podium finish with 3rd place, doing enough to keep Elfyn Evans at arm's length, while the Toyota driver had pushed on to try and add Sunday points to his championship account. Now, Neuville's 12-point recovery means Evans gained only 6 points in the title race and is 18 points shy of the top spot, now tied with Tanak, who finished second on the power stage. Gregor Monster finished the rally in 5th place.
Getting thrown around a lot, you know, as they're bouncing through the ruts. So
not being around since Greece last year. He's currently 6th overall, but been a little bit hard on himself, I think, hasn't he, Payuri?
Elsewhere, the national men's kabaddi team narrowly lost 55-59 to Nepal in the semi-finals of the ongoing Bangabandhu International Kabaddi Tournament at the Dhaka and Mirpur Indoor Arena in Bangladesh. Now en route to the semis, Kenya had a good run, beating neighbors Uganda, Sri Lanka, Iraq, Japan and Thailand. Kenya topped Group B with 10 points ahead of Thailand and Sri Lanka, who finished 2nd and 3rd respectively. Now 12 countries are taking part in this year's Bangabandhu International Kabaddi Tournament, among them South Korea, defending champions Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia and Poland. And of course, that particular result means that Kenya will face Thailand in the bronze match tomorrow, while host Bangladesh will clash with Nepal in the final, still scheduled tomorrow. Over to soccer and across the borders, where Spanish giants Real Madrid withstood the Borussia Dortmund onslaught to win the Champions League for the 15th time as Dani Carvajal and Vinicius Jr. struck late in a 2-0 win at Wembley. Madrid have now won their last 9 European Cup finals and lifted the UEFA Champions League trophy 6 times in the last 10 seasons.
5 times before, flicks the header into the back of the Dortmund net to give them the lead with 17 minutes to go. Vinicius Jr., great chance, 2-0. And the young man who was raised in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro scores for the 2nd time in a Champions League final in the white of Real Madrid. And number 15 is surely theirs now. And Vinicius Jr., the man for the big occasion.
Certainly, that was a game of two halves. Borussia Dortmund having the first half, but did not take their chances, and Madrid doing what they were supposed to do in the second half when they had their chance. That does it for Sports on Sunday Express. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernard Okumu.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
You can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Away from matter sports, and indeed we are glad to have that Shujaa is now going to be participating in the Elite Rugby series there after a one-year hiatus. We'll be looking forward to that. Now let's shift gears and focus on matters of traditional medicine. If you've been brought up in an African setup, well, you've had miti shamba, you know, traditional medicine and such. But then the question is, what is the role of traditional medicine in modern society, if any? And tonight we're going to be looking at supply chain challenges in light of uptick when it comes to matters of health living. To take us through this conversation is none other than Harriet Ngok, who is the founder of Harriet Botanicals. Thank you, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, big question is, does traditional medicine have a role in a modern society?
Well, yes, traditional medicine has a very big role to play in modern society. If you look at different traditional medicine from other parts of the world, including the Ayurvedic tradition or the Chinese medicine, that is very complementary to all the so-called modern medicine, allopathic medicine that is offered. Now, the World Health Organization has documented at least 200 bioactive components that come from plants that are used in modern allopathic medicine. So what then tends to happen is when people want something that is natural, 100% organic, and with minimal processing, they will lean towards traditional or herbal medicine from their own cultures. In this context, African traditional medicine.
So indeed, then there's a role to play, and we saw an uptick. Let's look at the uptick. Looking at the reports that have been shared by various medical facilities as well as the Ministry of Health itself, during COVID-19, there's an uptick of, you know, traditional medicine. You know, everyone was trying to deal with the pandemic. Now that we weathered the storm, we are seemingly okay, we are all right. Has it gone down, or are we still, using traditional medicine?
Indeed, COVID was a very interesting time for practitioners like myself. That is actually the time that my company grew the most that year. And since then, it's been tremendous growth year on year on. And what happened during COVID was that people were scared. And it was the first time facing a pandemic, especially on the continent, that nobody knew anything about. And they were predicting so many deaths. Now, what we tend to see is that when people are very anxious and scared, normally when things are not working very well for you, you tend to go back to source. You tend to go back home. People started now relying on natural remedies a lot more. And we saw Kenyans wanting to live a cleaner life, a healthier life. We saw Kenyans reaching for, detoxification methods, natural. So this was the time they thought, well, if they've developed new protocols for COVID, for instance, what are the side effects? And these are some of the questions that were not answered at the particular time. From then on, once you have any supplement or medicine in the public domain, whether herbal or traditional or allopathic, that has been seen to work, since then there's been growth on growth on growth. For the use.
But then the question of safety, that's another thing, because if you're looking at the COVID time, I think among the fruits, so to speak, that people were actually taking or abusing in the lemons.
Absolutely.
Then we had the ginger, then, the citrus, let's say. People were taking it in amounts that are not measured and such. So issues of safety when it comes to herbal or traditional medicine. We do it kienyeji, I'm using that word, with no guidelines. How then does it affect the growth trajectory for traditional medicine?
So at Harriet's Botanicals, we work with the University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy Department. This was after we were overwhelmed with the demand So we went to the authorities to find out how can we play a bigger role in providing this complementary medicine and do it in a way that is safe and legal. And so we worked with different bodies, different organizations, different government bodies that showed us the process by which you ensure that what you are giving the public is safe. We then went on to do manufacturing. So what we have done is we've taken the same ancient formulas, but we manufacture here in Nairobi and distribute in retail outlets in a form that can be traced and tracked. So that way it is easy for a customer who's out there to come back and say, well, I bought this from you and I want to return it, and we are able to look at our processes, our quality. So we have modernized traditional medicine.
So we have modernized. So as a player within the value chain, because we are looking at, other than that particular space, the traditional medicine space, what needs to be done to ensure safety, consumer safety, and also traceability, as you've said, of this particular items, or rather complementary medicine, as you've termed it. But then let's look at matters of supply chain challenges. There's the issue of climate change. We're all talking about it. We're talking about hubs. So climate change is also affecting that. So how then, as a player, do you think we need to, lock up or rather ensure sustainable supply chain?
Yes, what people did not know, what we are now learning, is that traditional medicine practitioners, especially in the forest, play a very big role in preservation of trees, because this is really their source of livelihood. They need to preserve the trees and the roots and the barks for other generations as well. This is traditional knowledge being passed on along families. And if you look at the Ogiek, for instance, who live in the forest but do not practice cultivation, and their role is to do beekeeping and to identify the important trees and to make sure that nobody is cutting them. So when you look at the people who actually take from the forest, traditional medicine practitioners are actually very low on that chain. They take very little and they take from the tree in a way that it can be regenerated. So they are best placed at grassroots level to be part of, like sustainable cultivation, planting more trees, looking after them, and also creating this knowledge base that will be a huge revenue for Africans. Other continents have actually taken advantage of the traditional knowledge that they have and commercialized it. And this is an opportunity for us as well. As we preserve the forests, we then create a new revenue source for all players, whether those at the grassroots, planting, and those in retail who are actually selling to customers.
Commercializing what we have learned, or rather passed on from grandfather to father and to son.
Absolutely.
And I like that you've mentioned the Ogiek. They're actually custodians of the forest as per their history there. And, marginalized as they are, and they're still fighting to continue occupying the forest that they occupy. But then as we talk about tree planting, you've mentioned that government has quite an ambitious program to plant quite the number of trees. But the question is, are we planting the right trees for the right place? And are we planting purposefully for medicine? What is the role that, practitioners like yourself are playing in this particular initiative?
I think it is an incredible initiative that the government has actually taken on board to plant these billions of trees. And that has sort of given a stamp of authority for what practitioners have been doing for a very long time. Practitioners know the indigenous trees very well. They know how they grow, where they grow. They know what is the most important part of that tree. And they also know how to rejuvenate or regenerate the tree. Children then can get to know more from these practitioners. Entire communities like the Ogiek, as I mentioned, and the Maasai, who also play a very big role in cultivation and preservation of traditional medicine, can then be brought on board at grassroots level. Since this is something that will bring them direct revenue, the traditional trees also are in the traditional names, and this connects them very much to their culture and their communities. And it has an all-round positive effect. So they can play a very big role in disseminating the information and even like identifying which trees to be planted and also keeping watch on that tree. You might plant a tree, but what's very important is that you nurture it and allow it to grow. And this role can definitely be played by forest dwellers like the Ogiek and the ones on the fringes of the Mau like the Maasai and the Kipsigis.
Now, you've mentioned something earlier, and I want to take it back to the issue of information sharing when it comes to matters of data and research. you see, your practitioners, but how forthcoming are you with the information or the research that you actually go on ground? This cures this cures that. Because then that brings in the issue of intellectual property rights. How do you balance the two with the need of, gaining more traction when it comes to matters of traditional medicine, especially now that you've gone commercial?
So it's very important for us when we're working with the community and with practitioners to also safeguard their knowledge, because this is something that they've had for thousands of years, and they know that this is community knowledge. They don't want it out there being misused. In the culture, only certain members of the society are allowed to practice, and only certain members of the society are allowed to harvest, which limits any damage to the ecosystem or to forests. Now, at Harriet's Botanicals, what we have done in what we're calling the modernization process, we've involved people like the University of Nairobi, the University of Kenyatta, and other groups, whether it's KEFIS, whether it's KEMRI. Even now, we have patented some of our formulas, but ensured that these are our own formulas that we have developed with
other researchers who are in this particular value chain for safety and also for documentation. Government has been looking at issues of having seed banks across the country in light of the GMO debate, indigenous seeds and such. Is it something that, when you talk about traditional medicine, is this something that we can also adopt, within the value chain?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can keep the seeds of these very important trees, some of them which are endangered, like Prunus africana, or one called Wabugia ugandensis. We can keep these seeds and also propagate them and then make them available to other people who are interested. I dream of a time when every single Kenyan will want to plant indigenous trees and indigenous medicine in their garden, even in the cities.
But that, as we come to a close, Harriet, dangers of self-medication.
Absolutely. Well, dangers of self-medication. So it's very important
on traditional medicine. It usually comes out when you're talking about prescribed medicine, over-the-counter drugs that we buy. But you never seemingly hear about, self-medication being harmful when it comes to matters of traditional medicine.
Okay, I think the reason people have this idea is because most of the time the medicine is 100% natural and it's unprocessed. So in a sense, it's like, can you really eat too much sukuma wiki? Or if you drink too much ginger and dawa, what will happen to you? You will just sort of excrete it out. But I think it is very important for us to regulate the sector and bring on all the players, especially those who are being recognized in their communities for having impact. Introducing a training regime and a regulatory regime that is friendly for practitioners, but at the same time bridges that gap between them and government and them and the medical community. I feel everybody should be involved. Traditional medicine, and I really want to emphasize this, is complementary to other forms of medicine, even allopathic medicine, particularly allopathic medicine. And if you look at our bottles, if you look at whenever we have our packaging, we always say, consult your doctor.
So it is complementary.
It is complementary. Okay. It is not an alternative. There are some people who will never take allopathic medication. There are some who will never take so-called complementary medication. I really believe there's a healthy balance in between. Talking to all the different practitioners. If you have a very mild cold, you can stay home and, let's say, take some ginger lemon. Or you can walk to your pharmacy and get some paracetamol over the counter. Or you can go to hospital and get something that has been prescribed by your doctor. All three are relevant and all three are useful.
Indeed. And we end it at that point. We're looking at the role that traditional medicine is currently playing in modern society. And we've been speaking to none other than Harriet Ngoku, who's the founder of Harriet Botanicals. And in her take is that all this is complementary. At the end of the day, you and I, the greatest wealth that you have is your health. That puts a cap on Matters Sunday Express tonight. Be sure to keep watching. Check out our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke for further details, especially information in those who are seeking help, and also just to do a follow-up on our specific period pieces, especially that one, Innocence Behind Bars by Leila Sodiq. I'm Regina Manyara. You've been watching Sunday Express, and my colleague on sign language has been none other than Byron Abuli. Have a great week ahead.
Damu imesema atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo, wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwende Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Kiva, hakuna atakayekusumbua.
Hello good people, this is Dr. Joseph Muremi and this